The first reading is a reading from the book of Ecclesiastes. Vanity of vanities, says Koheleth, vanity of vanities, all things are vanity. Here is one who has labored with wisdom and knowledge and skill, and yet to another who has not labored over it, he must leave property. This also is vanity and a great misfortune. For what profit comes to man from all the toil and anxiety of heart with which he has labored under the sun? All his days, sorrow and grief is his occupation. Even at night, his mind is not at rest. This also is vanity. The word of the Lord. The responsorial psalm. If today you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. If today you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. You turn man back to dust, saying, return, O children of men. For 1,000 years in your sight are as yesterday, now that it is past, or as a watch of the night. If today you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. You make an end of them in their sleep. The next morning they are like the changing grass, which at dawn springs up anew, but by evening wilts and fades. If today you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. Teach us to number our days aright, that we may gain wisdom of heart. Return, O Lord, how long? Have pity on your servants. If today you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. Fill us at daybreak with your kindness, that we may shout for joy and gladness all our days. And may the gracious care of the Lord our God be ours. Prosper the work of our hands for us. Prosper the work of our hands. If today you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. The second reading is a reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Colossians. Brothers and sisters, if you were raised with Christ, seek what is above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Think of what is above, not of what is on earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, your life, appears, then you too will appear with him in glory. Put to death, then, the parts of you that are earthly: immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and the greed that is adultery. Stop lying to one another, since you have taken off the old self with its practices and have put on the new self, which is being renewed for knowledge in the image of its creator. Here then is not Greek and Jew, circumcision and uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, slave, free, but Christ is all and in all. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to share the inheritance with me." He replied to him, "Friend, who appointed me as your judge and arbitrator?" Then he said to the crowd, "Take care to guard against all greed, for though one may be rich, one's life does not consist of possessions." Then he told them a parable. There was a rich man whose land produced a bountiful harvest. He asked himself, "What shall I do? For I do not have space to store my harvest." And he said, "This is what I shall do. I shall tear down my barns and build larger ones. There I shall store all my grain and other goods. And I shall say to myself, 'Now as for you, you have so many good things stored up for many years. Rest, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this night your life will be demanded of you, and the things that you have prepared, to whom will they belong? Thus will it be for all who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich in what matters to God.'" The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Today, not tomorrow or yesterday, today, if you hear the word of the Lord, and we have heard, and he told us that everything is vanity. Our parents and grandparents left us a house or a property, and that house will not be taken by you or me to the Lord. Not even a single dime, that it's nothing. Only the good actions that we performed. How is our life? Most of our life is working hard for morning till evening, and sometimes 2 jobs, exhausted, and then when he returns home to cook and wash and put things in order, and so many. And day after day, one retires and gets sick. That's our life. And accumulating, what are you going to take with you? Here, someone in the crowd, he didn't say a name, who, someone in the crowd. So someone in the crowd, it must be me or you individually. "Teacher, tell my brother to share the inheritance with me." My brother or my sister. How many fights? How much anger? Brothers and sisters, Do not talk to each other because of material things. He replied to him, "Friend, who appointed me as your judge and arbitrator? I do not interfere. You have to solve the problems. You have to talk to each other calmly, not angry, not saying bad words, not cursing, and talking to each other. You will find a solution. But that depends on you, not on me, on you. Take care to guard against all greed." Yesterday, I wrote a letter to a lady who is 82 or 83. And I said to her, "Did you start to throw away all that you do not need?" Because she wrote to me and she said she had so many things. She can hardly walk. One of her bedrooms full of clothes and clothes on the floor and with a bad smell. And the children and grandchildren do not want to go. They only call her, but they don't want to go. And I do not blame them, because she doesn't want to listen. I don't know how many times I told her. And she's such a good and holy woman. But she cannot get rid of what she has. One's life does not consist of possessions. Whatever we have, we will leave them. Then he told them a story. Jesus is so kind. In order to understand him better, he says a story, but a reality, something that happens every day. There was a rich man whose land produced a bountiful harvest. Why? Because he or his workers worked hard from morning till evening. He asked himself, when he saw all what he had, "What shall I do? For I do not have space to store my harvest. This is what I shall do. I shall tear down my barns and build larger ones. There I shall store all my grain and other goods, and I shall say to myself, greedy." And we have to share what the Lord gave us. You have so many good things stored up for many years. He knew that he was going to live a long life for many years. Rest, eat, drink, be merry. Don't worry about others who do not have what they need to survive. But I have. And what I have, it is the Lord who gave it to me. But not only for me, for my family, for my relatives, for those whom I know, for my neighbors, and also for those who I never met. But they came in front of me, and it was the Lord himself sent that person in order to see how I'm going to act. But I was indifferent. But God said to him, "You fool, this night your life will be demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, to whom will they belong?" All that you have to leave them. Tonight or today, you are going to die. Thus will it be for all who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich in what matters to God. And here is the answer. We have to reflect now, today. Examination of conscience. Today I was watching the Pope, and he said, he as Jesuit, and we also as Carmelites, twice a day, one before lunch and one before we go to sleep, we have to make an examination of conscience and see our faults today, not yesterday, and then ask forgiveness of sins, because we do not know when we are going to die. In the morning, when I get up, I say to the Lord, "Lord, thank you for this new day." But at the same time, a day less to eternity, not only for me, but also for all of us.